welcome to Beach Theory.
Beach Theory.
Beach Theory. Welcome to Beach Theory.
Welcome.
Today's episode, the long-awaited Missionary Training Center.
MTC.
So this is a place that non-missionaries cannot go.
Yeah.
It is off limits.
How come? I want to visit there. Would they give a
if
tour?
we wanted to go there right now, they wouldn't let us in.
Well, obviously, because of the coronavirus.
If we went in there any other time, they still wouldn't let us in.
Yeah, that's true.
It's literally for missionaries only.
That's so weird.
Especially not for girlfriends of missionaries.
Rude.
Are not allowed.
Rude. Just rude.
It's like this place.
Barracks.
Yeah, you're like in the middle of Provo, Utah, but at the same time, you're like in another world because you're so disconnected from anything else.
Yeah.
So I flew.
What's the craziest thing you've seen in the MTC?
To Utah, and I was called on my mission to serve in Salt Lake City South Mission. Mm-hmm. So I flew to Utah, and
which is so weird because if you're not familiar with our church is headquarters in Utah, and he's from Florida, so it was a very weird thing to get called to Utah.
Yeah, it was definitely.
It's like, what? He wanted to go foreign. That was like
I wanted to go to Thailand so bad
because one of the missionaries that came to your house when you were a kid was right.
No, it's because there was a guy in our ward who served a mission in Thailand.
Yeah, and
I always wanted to go to Thailand after that. Because he gave me some like Thai music, and so I listened to this Thai music, and I've always wanted to go to Thailand, but I got called to Salt Lake City South. And so I was like, all right, cool. All right, I guess that works for me. So I flew to the MTC. Oh, and my dad, my biological father, and my stepmom picked me up from the airport and drove me to drop me off at the MTC.
Did they only see you for a couple hours?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's so crazy.
They actually took me out to breakfast. So here I am. I'm already set apart. I'm officially missionary. I'm in my missionary clothes, right? Like I got dropped off at the airport in the morning by my dad. And there was no big parade. Like the whole family didn't go. It was just my dad. Okay, see you in 2 years. Like have a good life. That's just the type of people my family are, which is fine with me. And so, but my real dad or my biological father picked me up. We went to breakfast and we kind of caught up and talked because I hadn't seen him
in how many years
since I was like, I don't know, probably a kid, like
10?
Maybe 10, 8 or 9 or 10.
Whoa.
No, actually I did see him at Melanie's wedding. So I actually did see him there, but it was like super brief, just like a couple hours.
Yeah.
And so I got to kind of visit with him, and then he took me to the MTC, and I remember he took me to the MTC. We all went there together. And they gave me my name tag, and they gave me this little orange dot, which they call the dork dot because you were like brand new. This is like your first day. So.
That's rude. Missionaries are supposed to be nice all the time.
So I had my dork dot, which said I wasn't a good like a existing missionary in the MTC. I was a new missionary in the MTC because that was the only way to differentiate. And then we went into like this big room and we watched this video about missionary work and like saying goodbye to your family, and everyone was crying. It was like this really cool movie.
got to go to that.
Yeah. So did
Marcus.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they came with me to that. And then it was after that movie.
Technically, you are allowed to go into the MTC, except I don't think they do that anymore.
I don't think they do that anymore.
They did it. They used to do it because I know I went in there when Andrew went on his mission. And I think when Jennifer went on her mission. But I know for sure when Andrew went on his mission because I have pictures in the MTC of me, and I remember my mom and dad were crying so bad when Andrew had to go, and
finally
no, they were crying like,
our boy's all grown up. No, it's a good time, and it's very emotional and kind of a cool video. And then that's right after that video is where you say, okay, goodbye, now missionaries go out this door, and the family go back to your car and leave.
And that was so sad.
And like you said, they've changed that now to where it's literally just a drop off.
You drop them off. You drive up and say bye.
Yeah, which I think, rip off the Band-Aid a little bit quicker is Always a good thing. Too many families are just too attached.
No, it's never too much love.
That's funny. But so as soon as I went like through those doors, then they took me in this line.
They're like,
there was like,
now it's time to pay. Just kidding.
So I had like,
I'm like imagining them putting you in prison. Okay, this is gonna be great for your children. Okay, bye.
That's not what happened.
Okay.
So there was a big line of missionaries, right? Like we all walked through the door at the same time. And so we're all in this big line. And we had to bring with us like our paperwork, right? Like who we are, make sure that we have all of our everything in order. And so we had our paperwork in file and it had my immunizations. And so we went down this line and then when we showed it to this person and he's like, okay, you still need some shots. Right, like I hadn't got all my immunizations done, and so I just walked in the line and I sat down in the chair and they and they gave me all the rest
all
of
at the same time.
The whatever ones I was missing.
Whoa!
They finished off my immunizations right there in the MTC.
Wow!
And then they're like, okay, you can go, and then they gave me like an assignment for like who my companion was going to be in the MTC and like where my room was going to be and all that kind of stuff, and so. Then I went to my room and I started unpacking my bag. And then my companion came in and...
Hey, companion! Hey, companion! First time missionaries! Woohoo! Let's party!
And his name was Elder Woodbury. And he was kind of a strange individual.
Really?
He didn't really talk very much.
Okay.
I could be like, hi, I'm... Oh, Elder Beach. You can call me Elder. The whole, like, it's so ironic because my whole life I've been Michael Beach and now all of a sudden it's like, you can call me Elder.
Yeah.
Right? Like, because that's, missionaries go by Elder and then their last name.
Mm-hmm.
And so you don't call each other by your first names. Even the missionaries call each other Elder.
Yeah. So is there some people that you're like, that's so weird that like, when you hear their first name?
Yeah.
That's weird.
Like, I know all their first names.
Yeah.
But we never called each other by our first names.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember kind of being, when we were in our district or in our room, so it was me and Elder Woodbury, we were companions, and then there was 3 other elders. And I remember 2 of them, or they were they were in a threesome together. So it was Elder Feature, Elder Kelly, and Elder Brackens. And I remember being like, I really liked Elder Feature and Elder Kelly. Like, they were really cool. And I was like, I want to be in that companionship, like, really bad. And so I remember somebody was talking about how there was somebody left out. I think Elder Brackens might have been out, like the odd one out. And so they're like, well, we need to make sure everybody has a companion. And so instead of putting Elder Brackens into the threesome, they put Elder Brackens with Elder Woodbury and put me into the threesome. Huh. Which is kind of weird. But I was like totally cool with it because then I got to be with Elder Kelly and Elder Feature, and I thought they were really cool guys. And I don't know, like when you have to spend all day around one other person, you want it to be somebody that you like get along with.
Well, being on a mission is just preparing you for like marriage, right?
Totally.
Because you had to go around, like I'm sure there are certain things about each missionary companion that you had that you like learned from them. And then you took it and brought that experience into marriage to be able to handle marriage better. Right.
Well, I remember Elder Woodbury, he was the type of person who, like, he was really strong and he had like skills and abilities. But if you ever like praised him at all, he would like get upset with you and like tell you to stop because he felt like he was getting prideful or he didn't want to allow it to get to him. So he would constantly be like putting himself down. And he did it from the perspective of, this is me being humble.
I don't like that.
And I don't like that either.
I only don't like that because I have done that and learned not to do that.
Right.
Because it's not being humble. That's just tearing yourself down.
And I don't think that's healthy.
No.
And he wouldn't listen to anybody else tell him that. I think he just had it in his mind that this is how the type of person he was supposed to be. And I just really struggled with that attitude and that personality. And so I'm really glad that I wasn't put with him. So I was with Elder Kelly and Elder Feature, who were both like really normal guys. Are they all gonna
like watch this?
Oh, I doubt they'll ever see this. And even if they do, like, it is what it is.
Okay.
This is my...
Well, because normally we don't like use people's names if we're like talking about sensitive things.
Well, I don't want to be like, and my other companion, my other companion, my other companion. Like,
that's true. Because they're all companions and they're all elder. That's true.
It's hard to know, you know. Anyway, so the MTC. I think the weirdest thing about the MTC was that it was like it was really like you were in another world. You
gained so much weight in the MTC.
I did. I gained 10 pounds in the MTC.
Okay, not so much weight.
I was only there for 3 weeks. And I gained so much weight because they had good food.
See, I would want to go there just for that.
It was amazing.
I think I want to go on a mission just for that.
That was one of the biggest shocks to me, was because, like,
just kidding.
Growing up in my family, my mom would eat pretty healthy. We always had a lot of healthy food. I think that's why I was so skinny, because there was like never any really like good food.
We're always desperate for junk.
But when I went to the MTC, it was like,
what a good mom.
Just junk like food, you know, like unhealthy food, fatty like meats and desserts. Like I was like, dang, like you'd think like if these people were like religious and healthy, like trying to be like obedient to God, that they would be like taking care of their bodies, but they were just eating garbage. And it wasn't like bad. It was.
Can you imagine how much different the MTC would be if it was all vegetables?
It wasn't.
I know, but I'm saying, can you imagine
they had
how
like
much different it
Captain
would be?
Crunch cereal. Like every breakfast, we'd go into the cafeteria and it would be like the sugariest cereal you can imagine, and pancakes and waffles and like syrup, and it was like meat, like sausages and eggs, like all the like unhealthiest foods that you could think of. And if that's all that you eat every single day, you're gonna gain weight. Like you're just going
I bet they had healthy options that didn't get eaten, and I bet you don't remember any of them.
You're probably right. I was like,
I know they have healthy stuff there too.
I'm gonna eat that junk
You just
food.
like, you saw what you wanted to see and you ate what you wanted to eat.
Oh, you're probably right.
You're like, it
they made me eat sugar cereal.
Smorgasbord. You're like the rat in what is it?
In Charlotte's Web.
Yeah, Charlotte's Web.
That is true. Man, so we got so much candy too. Like I remember leaving an entire drawer filled with candy in the MTC.
Wow.
Because I think like family sends missionaries candy too.
Yeah.
Like, oh, Elder.
Well, it's like, I think that the amount of packages and letters that people get in the MTC is higher than once they're actually out in the mission field. Because it's like, they're excited. Like the families are all excited. They just got on a mission and like they're sending
I'm going to write you every day.
I'm going to write you every day. And then it just kind of fizzles out as you go. As time goes by. Because I remember, I think I sent a package to the missionary I was writing in the MTC. And maybe even more than one. I know I wrote a whole bunch of letters too. And then...
because it's cheap to send to Provo, but once they go to Denmark or France, it's like, I can't send you packages anymore. Sorry, it's way too expensive.
I know I did once, at least. But I think that was it.
Yeah.
Sent a lot of letters, so yeah. And then once I met you, that slowed down significantly until it was nothing. And then dear John, so sad. Different.
I just remember the food was great in the MTC. I got to hang out with other missionaries. Like, honestly, just, it's weird to say this, and I don't mean anything negative towards my family, but just being out of the house and out of the work
you were ready, like
family
18,
life.
And 19, there's nothing wrong with that.
Just felt so good.
Yeah.
You know? And so our schedule is really, we kept super busy. Basically, we'd get up every morning and we'd go get breakfast, and then we'd have like studies all morning. We'd go to class. Most of the time I was in the MTC, I was in the classroom, and we would be reading Preach My Gospel, which is basically a book that
you were going to be using on your mission.
Teaches you how to teach. It teaches you what to teach. It teaches you how to be a missionary, how to, work with people investigating the church. Teaches you how to be more Christ-like. Teaches you how to learn languages. Like, it literally has everything that you could possibly need to be a missionary and preach my gospel. So we read that whole thing and we practiced teaching. We did role playing. That was one of the hardest things in the MTC, was like, okay, now you're going to teach the first lesson. Buddy up, get a partner, get a companion, and let's go out in the hallway, and we're going to split up, and everybody's going to take turns teaching the principles of this book. And so we'd literally take turns practicing, and we'd either read it from the book, or we'd actually like practice teaching and not reading it, and like try not to look at your notes. Try to actually teach it from your heart and from, use the Spirit to guide you to know what to say. And like, that was hard. I think that was like, out of everything that I learned in the MTC, I think that made the most impact on me, because that's where I grew the most in terms of like actually knowing the content to be able to teach it, was practice.
Yeah.
And we'd even have, so this is something that we could do. This is actually really cool. So people can volunteer to go to the MTC and pretend to be investigating the church. So we would, every now and then, like, I think,
and bring a secret camera.
Just
kidding. I'm just kidding.
A couple times a week, we'd go into a room with somebody who is not a missionary, just a random person, and
you should put your mic down so they can see your face talking.
Like that.
Yeah.
So we'd be sitting in this room with this random person, either it was a lady or an old man or an old woman or something, or a couple, and they'd be like, "Okay, teach me the lesson."
I think I could really get into that. Just the idea of like, I'm going to go mess with some missionaries today.
And that's what they'd do. Like, sometimes they would ask us questions and they'd be difficult, and we'd have to try to resolve their concerns and answer their questions.
That's it. I'm leaving. Oh, I hate this. I could do a lot of fun things.
But at the same time, they were also like, okay, these missionaries are brand new. Don't be too hard on them.
Oh, yeah.
Like, let them teach you the lessons. This is for them to get practice.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe I'd be nicer.
So rude.
It would be fun. It'd be so fun. We would be the people that are like, yeah, what? We have all these kids flying around, like around us everywhere, screaming. We would bring our kids on purpose so they could be around us. I'd be like, screaming.
So, Elders, what you're telling me is I have to break up with my girlfriend if I want to get baptized? Or what? What'd you say? We have to get married?
Ew.
I don't know if I'm ready for that. Like, I like her and all.
That's so funny. Okay. Did anybody get sent home early in the MTC?
No.
Oh.
Well, it did happen.
Yeah.
I feel like that did happen to missionary that I knew in the MTC, but I can't remember.
Yeah.
Oh, one of my favorite parts about the MTC is they had this ironing board in the hallway.
Yes, the famous ironing board pictures.
So the MTC, the rooms that I was in was like all solid brick. Like, these buildings were built who knows how long ago. They were solid brick. And in one of the hallways, there was this straight board of iron that came out of the wall, and it had a little pole that went down underneath to kind of give it stability. But that was it. It was just like a flat piece of iron with a pole that came down.
Industrial strength.
Super sturdy. So what we would do is we would put on our jacket and all of our missionary clothes, and we'd lay down on this board with the jacket hanging down and covering the pole. So, and then we'd put our feet up on the wall and we'd look over our head like this at the camera, and it would look like we were literally jumping off the wall and doing a backflip backwards, like in midair, pictures. Right? So we did these, we call them the Matrix pictures. And so we'd have other people like doing flips, and then other people getting into different poses. And I actually...
Wasn't there one where one of you's like doing this?
Yeah.
Above, like they're going to punch the other one, and
I
the other one's like...
I think I probably have these pictures on Facebook. I'm going to see if I can find them, and then we could put them here in the video on YouTube to see the Matrix pictures.
Because we're talking about a picture, we might as well find it and show them what we're even talking about.
And then the missionaries would send those pictures home and be like, look at what I've learned in the MTC.
Yeah.
I can jump off walls now, all that kind of
I'm
stuff.
so spiritual that I am like a monk and I can fly and do kung fu.
And I remember specifically after we got all of our Matrix pictures, we were at a meeting, because meetings, so there was like class meetings, but then there was like zone meetings, and there was like other mission, like the whole MTC would come together, and like one of the big leaders of the church would come and talk to everybody. And in one of the big meetings, they were like, no taking Matrix pictures, stay off of the ironing boards, like basically going down the list of all the things that you're not supposed to do. But
you had already done it.
We had already done it. And so I didn't feel guilty because I didn't know any better.
Yeah.
But like they probably literally say that every single week.
Yeah.
Because all the new missionaries come and they don't know all the rules.
Oh, look, I could do this. That's so funny.
Another thing that I did in the MTC was I left a treasure for my brother.
What?
Did I ever tell you about that?
No.
So I had this idea.
Matthew's only 2 years younger than you.
Yeah, I was like, Matthew, my brother's going to be coming to the MTC, and I want to leave something here for him that he can find. And so I went up in in all the ceilings of all the hallways of the dorms, they just have like the ceilings that kind of pop up and you can kind of push them over. So I got up on a chair and I popped up the ceiling and I put a treasure in there.
What was the treasure?
And then I closed the ceiling and I sent my brother a letter with a little map that said, hey, when you go to the MTC, follow this map and you can find the treasure that I left you.
And did he ever find it?
I think it was gone.
I bet it was. I mean, 2 years and nobody going up in the attic. I'd be surprised if nobody went up in the attic and was like, oh, confiscating this. What was it that you left him?
I don't even remember.
Wow. It's probably that drawer of candy.
Probably a bag of candy or something.
2-year-olds.
Maybe it was a letter or something like, welcome to the MTC. You can do it. Or I don't know. Who knows?
Wow, that would be so cool. You should Well, did you ever ask him if he found it?
Yeah.
And he said no.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
That would have been so cool.
That was fun. So... good times. I learned a lot. Every week we would still get a P day, even in the MTC. So on P days.
But you weren't allowed to leave, right? The MTC.
So once a week.
You didn't need groceries. You didn't need to leave.
Once a week we were allowed to leave, and we could go to the temple. That was literally just across the street. So once a week we went to the temple, and then
all of the P days were on different days for everybody, though.
Yes.
So it wasn't like party day for the whole MTC.
Right.
Because that would be insane.
No, yeah, that would be crazy. So they staggered it so that it was a different.
Because I remember, as a teenager, going up to Provo and seeing all the MTC missionaries going across the street to the temple every single day,
and be like, maybe I'll see him.
Oh yeah, I never tried to go see him at the MTC.
Oh. I'm sure it happens.
I'm sure I know it happens. I've seen girls waiting outside the MTC just to see if they might accidentally run into them.
Whoopsies! Fancy seeing you here.
But yeah, I never did that.
So
I had friends though that worked there, and I remember I think they said they saw him and said hi to him for me or something like that, but that was it.
That's funny.
Yeah.
But
they worked in the mail room there, which I'm sure would be a really interesting job, actually, because there's a lot of things I think that they're not allowed to get, and they get anyway, sent to them.
The missionaries are
like a pizza in the mail, or a watermelon, or just random deliveries.
I've heard so many stories of people that have worked at the MTC and all the things that they've seen, and security guards have to deal with girls trying to break in.
Were there security guards?
Boys
there?
trying to break out. Oh yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah. I never saw them. It
was like a religious prison in a way.
They're just trying to keep honest people honest. But I never saw them because I never had any reason to try to sneak out, because I didn't have family in Utah that was
You're I know nobody here. This is all my family here.
Yeah, it's I want to be a missionary, and I'm happy to be here, and I'm going to follow the rules because I don't want to go get sent home or anything.
Yeah.
So
I'm glad you had the right reasons to go. I'm glad you had resolved a lot of things before you left. I'm glad that it wasn't there's a lot of people that do things that they shouldn't do, and kind of make a big mistake before their mission, and then go out on their mission anyway and lie about it. Don't tell anybody about it, and then they're unhappy on their mission and they're not there for the right reasons, and they end up coming home early, and it's like sad.
Yeah.
You know. So I'm glad you got it like resolved and figured out, and you got out for the right reasons, and you stayed out. You know.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. Because me back in the day, I was like, I am going to marry a returned missionary. That's just who I'm going to marry. Like, I knew it. But I also, like, because Ryan actually had come home off his mission early.
Oh, yeah.
I also was, like, really frustrated with that mindset of being so close-minded to people who hadn't gone on a mission. Because I was like, well, Ryan's an amazing person, and there's some girls who are legit turning him down only because he did not go on a mission, like, for 2 years. He even went on a mission. He just came home early, and it was like somehow shameful. And so I guess in my mind, I was like, I feel like I'm going to marry a returned missionary, but I'm not going to be closed off to somebody who's come home early if I feel like I should not be. You know what I mean?
Totally.
So, and I was just so frustrated. All those girls that were being such a jerk to him. I was like, just because you don't even know how good of a person he is. He's like the best person ever. And just because he didn't go on a mission, you're turning him down. That made me so mad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways.
Yeah, it's a real thing. And, but I have fond memories of the MTC.
Overall, you ate tons of food. You were perfectly full the whole time, right?
Mm-hmm. Fat and sassy.
Fat and sassy. And you had...
And I practiced teaching and learning.
Oh,
there was something else we did a lot.
Constructive criticism was what you got there, right?
No.
Oh, that was out on the mission?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's something else that we did as missionaries. We'd go and answer phone calls. So if people get the pass-along cards that the missionaries send out and they call that phone number, it goes to the MTC call center.
Oh, that's cool.
And so I got to be in the call center taking these phone calls, and that was freaky. Like,
why?
Because I was like so scared.
Yeah.
I was like,
because that was real.
Yeah, like you're talking to real people.
So somebody who's actually
with real
interested.
questions. Yeah. And that was like terrifying to me. I was just a scared person. I think I was just afraid of making people mad. I was afraid of saying the wrong thing. I didn't know how to answer questions. Like I didn't have those skills because I'd never developed those growing up. And so it was terrifying to me.
Yeah.
And I honestly don't even remember any of those calls.
I just, when I think about like who you were before and who I was before, and then when we finally met each other and who we were then, and like the timing of it all, I'm just like, wow, that is impeccable timing from God, I think. Just, I always felt like I was going to marry somebody who was about Andrew's age. Andrew's 4 years older than me. Michael's 3 years older than me. But I always felt like it was going to be somebody older than me by more than a couple of years. And then I ended up, like, I remember thinking, I wonder if I'm, like, in high school with the person I'm going to marry. Like, I remember thinking, are they here? And I always got this feeling like, nope, they're not here. Which was right. He was nowhere near me. He was all the way across the country, like at the furthest end of the country away from me. Except for when he was on his mission, and that's when I was dating all these boys, and yeah. It's just so weird. And I never ran into him. I don't think I ever ran into you. But I think that it could have been, I mean, maybe. What if I saw you and just didn't know it?
Could have
We always, whenever we saw missionaries, we would honk and say, missionaries! And then they'd be like, oh, and wave, and that's all.
That's exactly what I did every time.
Yeah,
it did happen a lot.
Yeah.
Like every time. We were basically
How many
celebrities.
times a day would that happen to you?
Multiple times a day. I don't know. At least every day that we went out. It depended on the area too. Like if I was in an area where I was on a bike, we were riding our bike around the neighborhood. It's like everybody you see, they're like, hi, hi, hi.
I mean, count how many times, like a day, 20 times a day?
Maybe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Less than that?
Maybe.
More than that?
Just depending on the day.
I'm talking about an average here.
Well, I think that's pretty much it for the MTC, because I don't remember doing anything else other than all those things that I had just described. But it was a good time. I remember just feeling, I remember waking up in the morning and it was like fresh air. I just remember feeling, and I think that just might have been Utah.
Oh, probably. Because, what time did you?
Because I left Florida in June. It was like very hot, very humid. And I come out to Utah.
Mosquitoes.
And in June, in the morning in Utah, it's
fresh,
like
crisp,
perfect temperature, fresh air. And you can see the mountains. And I was just
hot,
like,
wow, too muggy.
This is the most beautiful place. Everything's so nice.
I'm so glad you came here then and not in the middle of winter, or else you might have been like, see ya, I'm going back home. Can't handle this.
Right. Yeah, it was very nice. The weather was great and the temperature was great.
Is there ways you could go outside?
Walking from building to building.
Oh, okay.
It's like a campus, basically.
Oh, okay. Because I'm like, you're just like building all day. You never go outside.
Oh, no, we
There's
did.
Guards.
No, we did. We went outside to get from building to building.
Okay.
To walk to class and everything.
Okay.
So, but
so
it was
it's like college.
Time. Yeah.
Okay.
And all the elders that I was with in the MTC were also going to my mission with me. So like my companions. So when the day came to finally go to the mission, we all just got piled up in a bus. I think it was a Wednesday morning. We all got piled up in a bus and we drove a half hour to the mission and we got dropped off.
You were there for 3 weeks?
In the MTC for 3 weeks.
Ryan was there for 3 months, I think.
But he was trying to learn
Indonesian. It was really hard. Really hard.
I didn't have to learn anything but Utah. So that's the difference.
When I first met you, I remember you being like anti-Utah. You're like, even though you went here on your mission, you're like, I do not want to live here for the rest of my life. I do not want.
I learned a lot on my mission. And one of the things was if you marry a Utah girl, you'll be stuck in Utah for the rest of your life. And so because of that, I committed never to marry a Utah girl because I didn't want to live in Utah for the rest of my life.
But what's so ironic about that is the very first thing you did when you got home off your mission was go straight back to Utah to talk to a girl that you met on your mission.
That's true.
So that wasn't a very strong commitment that you made.
Well, that's true. If I found the right one, it's worth it. And it is.
That's true. It is. It's worth it. It's worth the snow. And you know what's weird about that? He has hated snow pretty much ever since we've been married and always loved the warmer weather. But the other night, it was very bitter cold. And he was like,
Charlie, go out, please. We're filming a video.
I do. He goes, wow, this cold air, it just feels so good. And I was like, what? I want to go to Florida. And it was weird. We had this moment of like switching places or something. Freaky Friday.
Freaky. Well, I'm excited for the next episode to talk about
when you first went out on your mission.
Actually being on the mission and how
because when you're in the MTC, it's not
was.
quite there yet. You're training to be there pretty much.
Just getting ready. And getting ready is not scary, but actually going out and talking to real people and having real people give you objections and like complaints, and it's like, I don't know what to do. Terrifying. So I'll talk all about that in the next episode of Beach Theory.
Okay.
Bye guys. Love you. See
Bye.
ya.